You buy a ticket to the movies, maybe $15, and you settle into your seat thinking that ticket is how the cinema pays its bills. Here's the twist. For the first few weeks of a big blockbuster, the exact weeks when the theater is packed, the cinema might keep almost none of that ticket money at all. So how does a movie theater survive? The answer is sitting in your lap in a paper bucket drenched in fake butter. The real business was never the movie. It was the popcorn. This is the economics of owning a movie theater. And once you see it, that $10 bucket of popcorn suddenly makes perfect, ruthless sense. Let's start with the fact that surprises everyone. A movie theater barely makes money from the movie. When you buy a ticket, that money does not mostly stay with the cinema. It is split with the film studio that made the movie, and the split is brutally lopsided, especially at the start. Averaged across a film's whole run, a theater might keep something like 40 to 50% of ticket sales. But that average hides the real story. For a major blockbuster in its opening week, the studio can demand 70, 80, even 90% of the box office. In some deals, for the first week or two of the biggest releases, the studio takes virtually all of it, and the theater is left with almost nothing from the tickets. Think about how upside down that is. The moment a huge film opens, when the queues are longest and every seat is full, is exactly the moment the theater earns the least per ticket. The studio designed it that way because they hold the power. There are only a handful of films each year that people will line up for, and the studios own them. So the cinema is forced to accept whatever split it is given, or it does not get the movie everyone wants to see. On the film itself, the theater is often running at a loss. The split does slide in the theater's favor over time. The longer a film stays on screen, week after week, the bigger the cinema's cut becomes, rewarding it for keeping older films running. But by then the crowds have thinned, and a film in its fifth week is playing to a handful of people. So the theater is trapped in a cruel squeeze. When the audience is huge, its share of the ticket is tiny. By the time its share of the ticket is large, the audience is gone. There is almost no window where the theater is both busy and keeping most of the ticket money. That squeeze, more than anything, is why the popcorn has to carry the whole business on its buttery shoulders. So if the movie is a money loser, why does the cinema keep the lights on? This is the second engine, and it is the entire secret of the business: the concession stand. Here is the crucial difference. That lopsided split only applies to tickets. When you buy a large popcorn and a soda, the theater keeps 100% of it, every cent. No studio, no split, no one to share with. And the markups are almost unbelievable. A large tub of popcorn costs the theater well under $1 in corn, oil, and a paper bucket. They sell it for $10 or more. That is a markup that can exceed 1,000%. Popcorn and fountain drinks carry profit margins in the 80s and 90%. There is almost nothing else you can legally sell to the public at those kinds of margins. And here is the number that really tells the story. Concessions make up only about a fifth of a theater's total revenue, but they can account for around 40% of its actual profit. Read that again. A small slice of the sales produces nearly half the profit because it is the only part the theater truly gets to keep. The screen is the bait. The counter is the business. There is an even cleverer idea hidden in that popcorn, and economists genuinely study it. The expensive snack is a way for the theater to charge different customers different amounts without ever changing the ticket price. Keep the ticket relatively affordable so the price does not scare people away and the seats fill up. Then let the enthusiastic fans, the families, the date nighters, the people who really want the full experience, pay extra at the counter. The casual viewer slips in for the ticket alone. The eager viewer spends $30 on snacks. The theater quietly extracts more from the people willing to pay more, and it does it all through a bucket of corn. It is one of the most elegant pricing tricks in all of retail, and it is hiding in plain sight next to the pick and mix. And the prices are not shy about it. At a typical cinema, a medium popcorn runs around $8 and a medium drink over $6 for items that together cost the theater perhaps $1 or $2. Order the combo, add a friend, and you can easily spend more at the counter than you did on the tickets, which is, of course, exactly the plan. Now, why does this work so well? Why do sensible people who would never pay $10 for popcorn at a grocery store cheerfully handed over at the cinema. This is the third engine. You are a captive, hungry audience. Think about the position they have put you in. You have already committed to being there for 2 or 3 hours. You cannot bring in your own snacks because outside food is banned. You cannot pop out to a shop and come back. And the entire building is engineered around one glowing, brightly lit counter that you must walk past to reach your screen, with the smell of fresh popcorn pumped into the air on purpose. Because that smell is one of the most effective sales tools ever discovered. You are bored, you are settling in, you are with friends or family, and buying a snack is simply part of the ritual. The theater is not really selling you food. It is selling you a treat to a trapped audience in exactly the moment you are most willing to buy one. Then comes the fourth engine, the extra layers stacked on top. Because a modern cinema has quietly found other ways to earn while the studio hogs the ticket. There are the premium formats, the giant screen, the reclining seats, the 3-dimensional glasses, each carrying a comfortable surcharge on top of the base ticket. And much of that upgrade is close to pure margin. There is the advertising. Those 10 or 15 minutes of commercials before the film are not an accident. The theater sells your eyeballs to advertisers, a captive crowd that cannot look away, and that ad money is almost entirely profit. There are private hires, birthday bookings, loyalty subscriptions that get you to prepay, and increasingly full restaurants and bars built right into the lobby, selling nachos and cocktails at the same glorious margins as the popcorn. The ticket may belong to the studio, but everything wrapped around it belongs to the house. So let's step back and ask the question this channel always asks. Who really profits from a movie theater? At the top sits the studio. It makes the film that draws the crowd, and then it takes the lion's share of every ticket, especially in the crucial opening weeks, while carrying none of the cost of the building, the staff, or the rent. Then comes the theater itself, which quietly makes its living not from cinema at all, but from being one of the most profitable snack shops in the world, kept alive by popcorn, drinks, ads, and upgrades. And who pays for all of it? You do, twice over. Once for a ticket whose value flows mostly to the studio, and again at the counter, where you happily pay 1,000% markup for a treat because you are hungry, you are trapped, and it is part of the fun. So should you want to own a movie theater? Be very careful, because this is a hard business and it is getting harder. The costs are enormous and fixed. Screens, projectors, sound systems, comfortable seating, and a huge expensive building in a good location, all of it sitting idle on a quiet Tuesday afternoon. You are utterly dependent on the studios to deliver a steady stream of hit films, and you have almost no power in that relationship. And looming over everything is streaming. Not long ago, a new film played only in cinemas for months before you could watch it any other way. That exclusive window was the theater's whole leverage, the reason you had to leave the house. Today, that window has collapsed to a matter of weeks, sometimes less, before the same film lands on a service you already pay for at home. Every week shaved off, that window is a reason not to drive over, not to buy the ticket, and above all, not to buy the popcorn. The captive audience that the entire model depends on is quietly being handed the keys to the exit and a comfortable sofa on the other side. Worth owning? As a business, a shaky 4.5 out of 10. The concession margins are genuinely spectacular, but they sit on top of a loss-making relationship with the studios, brutal fixed costs, and a shrinking reason for anyone to leave their couch. It is a wonderful snack shop bolted to a fragile cinema. And that is the real lesson hiding in the dark. You never really paid for the movie. The movie was the free sample, the thing that lured you inside. The business, from the very beginning, was always the popcorn. I'm Mogul Math. Pick a business, we'll do the math.